Hello mga kapuso! Ako si Dr. Ana Tuazon, ang inyong kakwentuhan na psychologist sa Share Ko Lang. May mga pangarap ba kayong iniisip na malabong matupad? Nasabihan na ba kayong delulu dahil imposibleng mangyari ang mga gusto mo? Para sa mga Gen Z, reaching for their Delulu Dreams na raw ang kanilang goals. Yan ang pag-uusapan natin today kasama ang content creator na si Justine Danielle Reyes or si Danny. Hello Danny! Welcome to Share Ko Lang.
Hi Doc Anna, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
So, yung Delulu, kasi ako, dalawang konteksto ko dyan. And admittedly, hindi Gen Z ang konteksto ko, no? So, I'll need your help, no? So we can understand. Siyempre, yung konteksto ko, one is from a psychiatric standpoint, no? So, meron tayong parang psychiatric definition. Not so much Delulu, the term, but, di ba, where it comes from, which is a delusion. Yung isang kong konteksto, Danny, actually, is from K-pop. No? So, as a fan and as a stan, no, meron tayong mga tinatawag na, yun na nga, parang medyo delulu in the sense of nagpa-fantasize, di ba? Parang nangangarap na parang, uy, baka, baka naman may chance ako, ganyan, sa aking mga idols. So, tell us what you mean by delulu.
So, tama nga po, Doc, na originally, Delulu was a term coined in the K-pop fandom. I think this was in the early 2010s, sometime around 2013 to 2014. Yung mga napapansin nilang mga fans na very enthusiastic about their idols, natatawag silang Delulu in a derogatory sense, na parang unrealistic mo naman masyado when it comes to admiring your idols, na parang iniisip mo na, ina-assume mo na, oh, you're gonna get married, you're gonna end up with your idol. But as we've seen over time, lalo na po na sa TikTok, on short form platforms, a lot of people have now changed the meaning of the word delulu, na parang kino-opt na nila yung term na delusional. And we're seeing it now in the self-development side of social media, na kung saan may mga young content creators around my age who say that delulu is the sululu, ika nga, na when it comes to aspiring for more, when it comes to trying to dream of a better life for oneself, yun na yung nagiging mantra ng karamihan ng Gen Z. And I think napapansin ko lang to sa mga madalas na online, yun yung understanding nila of what it means to be delulu. And like you, I have a background in psychology. So yun din yung una kong understanding of delusional. Like in a clinical sense, it's not something to be proud of.
Now, in your TED Talk, if it's okay, I'm curious about something you shared personally. Parang you showed na actually, according to your friends, isa ka sa, di ba? Parang ikaw yung pinaka, I guess you didn't use the word delulu, no? But ikaw yung pinaka delusional sa kanila and what that.
Yes.
So I'm curious, in what way are you delulu, Danny?
I just think I've always been the most optimistic friend, na ako yung go-to kapag kailangan nila ng pep talk, if they need words of encouragement, and if they're trying to like aim for something that they feel is beyond their comfort zone. Ako talaga yung pinaka nag-cheer sa kanila. And syempre, when people don't really believe in themselves and they feel that yung chine-cheer ko sa kanila, parang ang layo sa reality, parang ang impossible na magkatotoo. Kaya na ako natawagang delusional because they kind of don't believe in themselves, and I do the job of like pushing them to believe in themselves. So yun naman. Grounded pa naman po ako sa reality ko.
Sabi ko nga, parang I think para maintindihan, no? Ano yung meaning ng delulu ngayon? Parang mas better na lang na isatabi, no? Wag na nating ihambing dun sa clinical, kasi ibang-iba talaga yon eh, di ba? Pag sa clinical kasi, ang delusional, we're talking about physical reality, meaning nakakalipad ako, nakakabasa ako ng minds ng ibang tao, and from what I understand in your, how you're trying to explain, parang you're just talking about, it's very socially improbable yung mga gusto ng mga tao. Kung sa generation ko, Danny, ang tawag namin dyan, mga suntok sa buwan. Diba, mga pangarap mo, suntok sa buwan, medyo mahirap marating, very unlikely. So yung meaning ng delulu para for you, very optimistic, 'di ba? Parang may aspirations, may mga gustong marating. Ano yung mga common Delulu dreams so to speak, ng mga Gen Z ngayon?
Alam mo, Doc, feeling ko talaga bare minimum yung mga Delulu Dreams ng mga
So
tao ngayon.
hindi siya
Parang,
actually that ambitious?
yeah, it's
Sige nga.
not that ambitious. Sometimes they just want to get their bills paid. They want to live a comfortable life. They want to move out of their parents' households. But all these things require socioeconomic resources that a lot of emerging adults may have very little of or nothing at all. I think at the end of the day, we really have to consider what barriers exist for young adults na nagre-result sa kanila sa pag-isip na this doesn't feel realistic, na parang it feels delusional to even want a better life for myself.
Yung socioeconomic reality, like for you, Danny, I guess, parang in what ways na realize mo, teka, parang hindi na, parang yung reality of, di ba, the economic reality is so unreal. Yun eh. Parang, paano, ano yung mga barriers, di ba sinabi mo, for you, in terms of, di ba, parang you're having a career now, you're doing all of these things. Meron ka bang na-experience ikaw mismo na parang yung di ba, parang hindi pa rin? I'm curious. Do you feel you can move out, have your house, have the
Actually
things that you
po,
want?
I moved out of my childhood home a couple of years ago. Pero bumalik din po ako, like recently, because apart from my lease ending, I realized that I had to save again because moving out
Mm,
is really expensive. And I work in QC. So magastos po talaga yung cost of living in a very big city. Tapos ano pa, panganay din po ako. So as the eldest daughter, I had to be a breadwinner for the first 3 years of me working. Before I got into testing and research po kasi naging high school teacher po ako at a private school, but I was very underpaid. Tapos pandemic pa po nun. And I realized that I wasn't getting paid enough kasi covered ko yung gastusin sa bahay. Tapos halos wala akong nasa-save at all. It was only after I started looking for a new job and found a career na nga in testing and research na dun medyo slowly ako nakapaghanap ng extra resources so that I could save, I could earn, and eventually that led me to doing content, to educating others online, and like taking on different side hustles para lang din masustain ko not just my own lifestyle but to also support my family. And ayun nga po, dahil nga sa social media, mas nagiging open din yung mga taong kaedad ko na about their realities, about what they're going through. I'm part of different Facebook groups of young adults who share about their experiences, from eldest daughters wanting to figure out a life for themselves to young adults trying to understand like what kinds of careers could I possibly pursue given the current state of the world. But I understand that I'm not that unique enough to have a very original experience. At the end of the day, like as a Filipino who's part of a collective culture, naiintindihan ko yung kung anong pinagdadaanan ko, kung anong struggles na meron ako socio-economically, alam kong may makakaintindi din sa akin. And I'm so happy to know through the internet, through the reactions sa talk ko, nag-resonate din sa mga tao.
So, personally, what did you have to be delulu about to achieve, the things that you want? And of course, I'm sure there are still dreams you want to go for. So, yeah, what did you have to be delulu about to get to where you are now?
Actually, Doc, a lot. I had to be delusional about so many things. Ever since I started doing speaking engagements, I knew that I wanted to teach kahit na psych na yung background ko. And so, when I started looking for a job, kasi kakakuha ko lang ng psychometrician license ko noong 2018, I had to be delusional about getting a job in teaching kasi all these job offerings were like, oh, you need to have a teaching license. And I was like, okay, I'll still try. And then eventually I landed the job like 3 months in, which maikling oras na pala yun for someone my age because I thought that was a long time na. And then I think that was like the first sa career ko. I've also had to be delusional about during the pandemic, especially
Mm.
2020 na parang, oo, matatapos din 'to, like makikita ko din yung mga friends ko. At that time, we didn't see the end in sight kasi wala pang vaccine noon. May maraming ECQ, MCQ, GCQ terms. Tapos it was so easy to just spiral and accept na, hala, baka hanggang dito na lang talaga yung 20s ko, nasa bahay lang ako. And then eventually that happened. And when I started looking for a new job, I really wanted na sa school setting na ako going to college, like from high school to college. So talagang inisip ko siya na dapat college na ako mag-a-apply for work. And luckily I got it because I was being delusional about it kahit na a lot of job postings said na I needed like 2 to 3 years of
Mm.
experience in education. And pati po yung pag-apply ko sa MA sa UP, I got a non-admission first in my first application because I applied for the clinical program. And
Oh, is
then
this me?
yes, yes, I was going to
Oh
mention it. Yes. But actually, Doc, your non-admission letter to me, it it really changed things for me because I really expected last year na magsa-start na po ako mag-MA sa clinical psych. But then the non-admission letter was a sign for me na, okay, I have to be delusional about this kasi alam kong meant ako sa MA psych. Hindi ko it's more of, hindi ko siya tanggap. It's more of like, this is not the end. So I took those pieces of advice that you wrote to heart na I have to test my commitment to psychology. I have to explore other fields to look at kung saan ba talaga ako meant. So as a result po nun, nung yung non-admission letter po na yun, dun po ako nag-start mag-TikTok. Dun po ako
Mm.
nag-start gumawa ng content on mental health. Because kating-kati na po ako magturo ulit. And then that led to so many opportunities in the last year. And that even led to getting invited for the TEDx talk. And eventually, ayun, natanggap na rin po ako sa UP Psych. So, I've things have worked out because I was being delusional or optimistic enough na things would pan out the way I wanted to.
And so, in a way, no, wow, kasama pala ako sa story na yan, Danny. Nako, I'm glad, personally, I'm glad, no, that, yun na nga, parang, you realize, parang, the alternate of that, di ba, the detour, so to speak, no? Parang opened up so much more. So, I'm personally glad na hindi ako yung nangharang sa dreams mo. At the same time, I think, parang yung story na yun, may distinction, di ba? Kasi hindi naman yung pagka-delulu, meaning, parang hindi, basta akin to. Parang, di ba? Parang, yung sinabi mo nga sa TED Talk mo, is this entitlement? Hindi naman. More of, go for it. Di ba? Go for it. Parang, the worst kasi is if you never tried. Or the worst is if you never, di ba? You never explored. Ano yung limits? Can I push the boundaries of this so-called reality? Di ba? And, kung hindi nag-work, and then yun na nga, hanap ka ng ibang end, di ba? Ng ibang way. Hanap ka ng other ways. What are the things, now that you know, like, okay, it works out, di ba? Parang as long as I am delulu about this. And when we say delulu, hindi irresponsible about it, right? Like, okay, in other words, paninindigan ko, gusto ko, I'm gonna go for it. Di ba? I'm not gonna let any opportunity pass by. Yun ang naririnig ko. So, what is the next delulu for you?
I think, like, when it comes to being delulu talaga, parang you have to exercise a good amount of flexibility. Like what you said kanina, Doc, na parang a lot of people assume na it's entitlement, na, di, gusto ko to kaya pipilitan natin. I've been that hard-headed in the past, and it hurt me in more ways than one. So, syempre, naging learning experience na yun sa akin na if ipipilit ko na this one specific way is the only way, talagang yung pagiging delulu na yun, it would be harmful. But as I've learned over the years na when I open myself up to different opportunities, like given the various experiences that I shared, na if I start to see na, okay, plan A didn't work, there's plan B. Like, if alam mo naman yung gusto mong mangyari sa buhay mo, if may North Star ka naman, if may pangarap ka na, this is how you want your life to turn out, you're going to try as many options as possible. And I think another remarkable thing that you said, Doc, is how you really have to try talaga, like really exercise all options. They feel like things are out of their reach kasi nakakalimutan nilang may choice pala sila.
And so parang yun na nga, parang in other words, hindi ko ililimit ang sarili ko. Kung babanggain ko yung reality, so be it. 'Di ba? If reality slows me down, 'di ba? Or tells me, okay, hindi ka pwede dyan. You have to try another way. So that's, in a way, I know, even in your TED Talk, na parang don't try to find other words to Delulu. It's just Delulu. At the same time, no, maybe as a non-Gen Z, as a millennial, parang yun na nga, parang don't constrain yourself. Diba? Reality is hard enough, actually. Diba? Reality is gonna have many roadblocks and challenges for us. Merong mga paths that require so much patience and sometimes just a lot of waiting for the opportunity to come. So it's already so limited. Dadagdagan mo pa, ililimit mo yung sarili mo. So kunyari, ay, hindi na lang ako mag-a-apply sa UP, ang hirap niyan eh, di ba? Parang ganon. Or hindi na lang ako mag-a-apply sa job na yun kasi gusto nila ng maraming experience. When actually, the mere fact of applying, I hope in your case, like in our program, was the experience that you need. Di ba? Because it gave you a sense, ito pala yung kailangan kong i-build up pa, etc. Now, the Lulu in a relationship, that's at least 2 people, if not more. Can you tell me a little bit, ikaw ba, have you ever had to be the Lulu in a relationship?
Oh, of course, of course, Doc. Like may times talaga in relationships where it took me longer to leave. I I tried to fool myself or had to be delusional na, and then magbabago pa to, like things would look up. But then eventually I'd realize na, things aren't going to work out no matter how much you believe in it because a relationship will always take two people, if not more. And we're also seeing this in how people pursue romantic prospects na parang some of them kailangan nila maging delulu para mapansin sila ng crush nila or para this talking stage ika nga leads to an actual full-blown relationship. And I think common din siya among women. I think more common among women to be delusional about their partners, lalo na sa mga heteronormative relationships, that they have to be delusional about their partners changing, their male partners being like stepping up and being better for them. And so we've seen this time and time again in previous generations. I don't think Gen Z is the only one experiencing this. Parang unique lang yung term na ginagamit namin. But these are sentiments that have been echoed in the past na, and it's just Gen Z is like finding this to be a term na all-encompassing siya. And ayun, I think when it comes to thinking of what kind of relationship people want to be in, dun pumapasok yung pagiging delusional na, I want a partner that's like this. I want my partner specifically to behave like this. And sometimes, yung delusions na yun, they come to life because maybe you communicate. Maybe you let them know that this is how you want your relationship to look like. But also, there are people who, they stay stuck in their heads na parang, ito kasing pinapangarap ko, tapos magtataka sila bakit hindi nagbabago yung partner nila. Kasi walang effort or walang communication ang nagaganap. Walang conflict resolution skills dun sa relationship. Kaya hanggang pangarap na lang, hanggang delusion na lang yung ideal relationship nila para sa sarili nila.
I think I'm starting to understand na at least the way, kasi syempre ako I have to admit, hindi ko maalis talaga yung psychologist hat, no, Danny? Kasi in the sense of, I want to make sure, how do we set people up for success, diba? And na-achieve nila yung mga pangarap nila by being the Lulu? And how do we avoid any pitfalls and risks associated with this sort of, parang strategy siya eh, di ba? Parang mantra nga, di ba? Sabi mo, it's a mantra, it's a way of affirmation, a way of visioning, what you want. Okay ang delulu when yung pagiging delulu mo emboldens you to be more active. Di ba? Parang you try to actively solve, di ba? Overcome the barriers, try to figure out. So in a relationship, kasi ito yung gusto ko, i-communicate ko na ito yung gusto ko. Hindi ako tatanggap ng lower than those standards that I want, di ba? Pero kasi yun na nga, parang on the other side of that, di ba? Especially delulu in a relationship, it can lead people na, ang worry ko, Dan, is can they get stuck in bad or toxic or abusive relationships? Kasi hindi nila na-realize, okay, kailangan ko na tanggapin yung katotohanan. May limits itong relationship na to, di ba? Parang my partner cannot do what I need them to do in this relationship. So I think the difference, tama ba, Danny? Parang I just thought about that. Like, na if the Delulu keeps them passive because they're clinging on to the Delulu rather than actively working this reality towards their dreams.
I
Yun
think
yung
yun
medyo
talaga, Doc, yung difference ng pathological na delusion. That it keeps you stubborn, it keeps you fixated on a particular dream that you have. Yung delusion na healthy would actually encourage you to exercise your decision making, to allow you to take more initiative. I think well, based on personal experience, parang mas nag-improve yung quality of life ko when I started to remind myself constantly through small actions na I can make choices. I can make decisions for myself na that are inspired by my like delusions na sige, I want to start making content, or I want to get more side hustles. So I'll start behaving in a way na I already have it. So I guess ayun, parang you really have to let these beliefs that you have, no matter how unrealistic you feel, they have to push you to do something eh. Hindi yung magde-daydream ka lang all day na, oh, ito yung life na gusto kong ano ma-achieve, tapos wala kang ginagawa. Then I think dun na papasok yung clinical na perspective of being delusional.
so Delulu alone is not enough to achieve your dreams. Diba? Parang it's Delulu plus active action, plus diskarte, plus, diba? Parang sabi mo nga, have a plan B, have a plan C. Persistence is not doing plan A over and over again. No? Parang hindi, this is what I have. So you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's to say, I want this enough and I know I deserve this enough. Hahanap ako ng iba't ibang paths towards what I want. So in a way, diskarte is identifying that there's something that you want, that even if mukhang maraming balakid, maraming barriers, you know what? It's worth, diba? It's worth pursuing. Even if reality says, hoy, masyado naman yatang mataas or masyado namang improbable.
Parang I hope that people would find what we have in common. It's that we all know that life is hard. And instead of discouraging an entire generation from using the term delulu, sana mas intindihan natin yung perspective na yun and give them tips or like give them encouragement that life, it may not get better, but it can be different. Like it's not always gonna be like this, but things can change and you can exercise your autonomy para hopefully that would lead you to the kind of life that you want.
I think yun na nga, parang, kasi I think yung disservice na sa ganitong topic na to is if we get stuck in semantics, di ba? If we get stuck at the word itself. And in
Yeah.
fact, what's more important, yung natutunan ko sa'yo ngayon, Danny, is ano ba talaga, it's giving me and hopefully a lot of people a glimpse into paano ba nagko-cope ang mga tao, not just Gen Z, but, di ba, especially for Gen Z. Parang the Lulu as a way of coping. And it means, parang yun na nga, parang if reality says you can't, di ba, parang okay, okay, and hindi natin, di ba, parang hindi tayo magpapatigil dahil doon. Hahanap tayo ng paraan. Kasi posible naman, di ba? There's a wider reality than we actually know. And especially kung sa social media shows us a very specific slice of reality. And so there's so much more to that. So for sa mga taong medyo yun na nga, parang masyado namang defeating ang reality ko ngayon. 'Di ba? Parang masyadong maraming hindi pwedeng gawin, hindi pwedeng makamit. It's so hard. Sabi mo nga, ang simple ng mga gusto ng mga tao. Ang pangarap nila is they just wanna live their lives, go to the next step, 'di ba? Design the life they want to have. So, what can you say to people na parang masyado na akong nababaon ng realidad?
I think you can set reality aside for a while, lalo na if yun lang yung pinaka-iniisip mo parate. 3 years ago was my last depressive spiral na talagang hindi ako umaalis ng kama. Like, I was really in bed all day. And it was like the height of my depression. And what really got me out of it was that little sliver of hope that I had na things would get better. And slowly, in-acknowledge ko yung hope na yun, na parang maybe things can get better, na parang hindi ako destined na dito lang ako sa kama ko all day. And being delusional is not a big leap of faith all the time. I think it starts with the smallest of steps. It's learning to remember that you can make choices that can drastically change your life in the next year, in the next 6 months even. This year po, share ko lang na nag-start na ako maging consistent sa gym. I've been lifting weights at like very consistently na, and I'm starting to see progress na right now I'm kind of thinking myself back then earlier this year na buti na lang talaga I showed up. Buti na lang I started kahit nung time na yon hindi ko nakikita yung posibleng mangyari. And so when it comes to being delusional, I think it's really reminding myself na kahit nakaka-depress din isipin yung reality minsan, I have to set that aside. I have to acknowledge it. Sige, ganito yung circumstances ko right now. But I won't let myself get defeated by it na sana magamit ko pa siyang motivation to do better, to find what kind of life I'd like to live. And if you're not satisfied with your current reality, at least you know what you don't want. And that's one step closer to knowing what it is that you want and to figuring out how you can get there.
So thank you so much, Danny. And well, thank you for
Doc
sharing with
Anne,
us
so
today.
much. I had so much fun. It was a pleasure chatting with you about this.
Kung may gusto kayong pag-usapan, mag-iwan lang ng comment below or email us at sharekolang@gmanews.tv. We're also streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.